and he like turns his alarm clock off, and you just see, oh, Bleaks.
I find your lack of how disturbing.
My name is Darth.
Whiskey.
That's the stupidest name I've ever heard.
Welcome back, Dum Duck.
The dojo is real?
Hello there. Welcome to Dum Dum Dojo. I'm your host, Darth Whiskey, and thank you again for joining me. Happy New Year to you. Happy 2022. I hope you and all your loved ones are healthy and safe and warm and all that fun stuff. I'll say it's still early enough in the year for me to have some optimism left in the chamber, so I've yet to disappoint myself too hard, but one of the goals of mine for this year is definitely to get these things out a little bit more frequently, a little bit faster. This conversation was recorded a while ago, but let's say due to some shit, I've been sitting on it for a while, and it's taken me a minute to push publish, which is a bummer because this is a conversation I'm very grateful for having had. This is an episode that I'm very proud of having cobbled together. Cobbled is a fun verb that needs to be utilized more often. And so whether this is your first time watching or you're one of the 9 people that watches every single episode, thank you and welcome. My guest this episode is my good friend, Mr. Brandon Votaw. Brandon works in TV and film, where he programs the lights that help some of Hollywood's coolest stories and sceneries come to life on screen. Among the many projects that he's worked on that we talk about, Gemini Man, featuring Will Smith and a younger CGI version of Will Smith. Loki, the Disney Plus TV series, which was fantastic, follows Thor's brother as he traverses through time and reality. And a movie which was so special to me and comic book nerds worldwide, a cultural phenomenon. Brandon got to work on Black Panther. And this was such a fun conversation where I get to pick his brain about the details and the intricacies involved in bringing these things to life. In addition to some of the more serious things facing the TV and film industry today with regards to working conditions and discrimination and diversity and representation. And of course, on the subject of representation, Brandon and I spent a good chunk of this conversation talking about one of Marvel's latest cinematic offerings, talking of course about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the 10 Motherfucking Rings. As 2 Asian American kids, it was so meaningful and inspiring to get to see a superhero story where the characters look like me and my family and people I love and care about, where the story and the relationships and the conflicts and the struggle that we watch these characters go through felt so relatable and familiar and reminded me so much of my own family upbringing, minus the fighting abilities, right? Minus the weaponry. My sister doesn't run a fight club. She does spreadsheets. And predictably, when the conversation moves to family and identity, there are some waterworks. There's some face liquids that escape the holes on my face. There's some face liquids that come out of Brandon. And it's probably a big reason why I've sat on this for so long, because it's embarrassing to publish yourself crying on the internet. But also, this is who the fuck I am. This is who the fuck we are. And I'm so grateful for having had the chance to have this conversation with Brandon. When we recorded this, the movie had just come out, and I'd seen it for the first time in theaters. With my good friend, Mr. Tyler Leem from Dum Dum Dojo episode number 5. But this conversation, which you're about to watch right now, happens after having seen the movie just the one time. But I wanted to put it on the record, put it on wax, that I loved it so much, had to take mom to go see it for round 2. And then I bought this sick-ass bomber jacket so I could feel like Shang-Chi, and I went ahead and hit a round 3 by myself. And, we throw the term self-care around a lot, but let me tell you, deep-throating a fistful of shreddables and then crying alone in a movie theater is chef's kiss. Or fisting, which is also the same hand shape, just rotated. As always, I invite you to come say hi and watch me play blues licks over trap beats and pop songs on Instagram at Darth Whiskey. The like and subscribe buttons are there. I'm checking my notes. The commercial in the middle took me a really long time, so don't skip that and definitely tell me I'm funny. And then this is Simu Liu shirtless from the movie, which doesn't make me feel insecure about my torso or like general physique whatsoever. Okay, I love you. Take care of yourselves. Hug people. Happy 2022. Welcome to the dojo.
I'm going to be a musical bard named Carrion Crisscross that was a tiefling demon that didn't want to get into the assassination career, so went to art college and is now in debt. And if that's interesting, that's going to keep you going. That's going to pull you in. And like,
it's a liberal. It's a fucking like tieflings are like the devil looking things,
yeah,
right?
The devil, yeah.
How hipster art college can we make this tiefling?
I think he's so the idea behind it was the premise that the DM gave us was that there's this guy named Mr. Smiles and we're all indebted to him. So we got to choose how we became indebted. So I think the tiefling's family business is just like torture and assassination and stuff like that, which we're great at. I didn't want to do that. So I convinced my parents to allow me to take a sabbatical couple of years. So I got a loan from Mr. Smiles to go to the art college in town. And I'm trying, a little bit of rap, maybe some folk music. There's an underground where I do rap battles, but up top I do more of like, trying out indie. I'm trying a little of everything, some visual media. My bard is like a buffing and debuffing. So I use vicious mockery to make all of my enemies have to roll disadvantage when attacking.
Dude, Dungeons and Dragons is something that like I've never gotten into it, but like the friends that I have that are super into it looks like so much fucking fun. Honestly, if I had more people around me that were as nutty about it and like just 6 people getting together around a table and being like, yo, your guy's a bitch, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so much funny. We'll do like fun character voices. Like my last character, my old one, I was Uthal, which was a barbarian Goliath, who's like a big stone guy.
Okay.
He is very oblivious. He's like, my name is Uthal. I do not understand. I sleep out. I do not need this. Why would you spend money on an inn? I can just sleep outside on the trees by the stray dog. So it's just like, you get into it, and it all depends on the people you're with, and we just take it wherever we wanted to go. And I ended up going on a quest to find this obsidian axe that I had to find pieces for, and it talked to me mentally, and I didn't understand that no one else could hear it. So it was this whole inner monologue back and forth with just me and an axe, and it's just like super fun.
Everything you're describing though, right, is like stuff you're talking out loud, right? You're having this conversation with your friends around the table, like, no, see, because here's the thing: is my dude's crazy, and so he hears the axe, but you guys can't hear me hearing the axe. But the shit's talking to it, like, and you were talking and hashing all this stuff out, right?
Yeah, and like I like to get very like when I play a dumb character, I refuse to take notes because if I have notes,
because then you can't remember.
Then I can't remember.
Like, fuck,
so,
that shit is tight as fuck.
But when I'm playing the super intelligent character, I will take crazy notes because I feel like the character needs to know those things.
Yeah.
But like, and I'll a lot of times be like, I don't want to do this, but I know my character would not be smart enough to realize that. I'm rushing in, and I would like, once he got bored, like our first adventure, he got bored of everyone looting because he doesn't care about loot. So we were trying to lure the captain of thieves back. So I decided to light the tower on fire that we were inside of while everyone else was looting because I got bored.
So wait a minute. So how much like is it within the rules for you to be able to decide to set that on fire, right? Like you have to have like a fire spell, thus that you can set it on fire, or it's like there's a torch out front. I'm gonna grab the torch out front, set it on fire, and commit an arson, or like
it kind of is up to the DM too, and depends on the character you have. So sometimes I'll
DM
say
is
something.
The dungeon master, right?
Dungeon master, yeah. So he controls the world. He's the storyteller. So you tell him what you want to do, and he'll either, depending on how he plays, he'll be like, you know what? Yes, you can do that. Or he'll be like, okay, you need to make a roll. That's a constitution roll. That's a strength check. That's an athletics check. And you have to make a roll to see if you can pull it off.
And then based on the stats of your character, you roll the dice.
And then the DM makes up, okay, cool. That's an easy thing. So in his mind, he won't tell you. He'll be like, that's a 10 or higher succeeds. But you don't know until after you roll it. And he says whether it happens or didn't happen.
Okay, wait. And then so explain to me then also, because and you see this in like pop culture, like references in TV shows and shit like that. There's fucking too, isn't there? Right? Like, isn't sex like a thing, part of the game?
See, I've never gotten, and I think that's all comes down to the DM you play with. Like, and that's because some DM people are like, no, we're not going to do that shit. Like, I played with someone, he's like, no, we're playing serious. Stop being idiots. And he's like, oh, you want to do something dumb like that? Well, as soon as you try to do that, all of a sudden you get stabbed in the back because you weren't paying attention by a random bar person.
The orc vagina chops your tiefling penis off or whatever.
Exactly. And then it's game over there. So it kind of all depends on how you guys want to play it and what you want to do. I've known some, I haven't played in too many rounds that are like that because they're just, my DM's like, you guys are talking too much to everyone in the bar. All of a sudden an explosion happens outside and then forces us to go do that.
Does the DM also have a character themselves?
So they play every NPC. So every barkeep, every enemy.
That's tight.
They control all. So they roll all the dice for, like, if I try to charm the barkeeper, he'll roll a save versus me. So he pretty much plays every character besides our party.
I don't want to check the clock because I don't want to accidentally click some shit and then stop recording and fuck something else up. And now even saying this makes me want to check and make sure that we're still recording. It's been all of maybe 9 minutes and I'm so fucking down to start a D&D campaign. So if anybody's watching this, you're in the greater Los Angeles, Orange County area, let's fucking...
And the great thing too is there's like a site called roll20.net, and it's a medium where you can create maps and put your characters in, and we can play online and video chat while we're playing and then digitally roll the dice. So like there's a way to do it where like you can play with people it takes more work from the DM to set up. But if you know anyone that is a DM that's watching this somewhere else, we could literally set up and do virtual
like
call.
This basically, right? Yeah. And then just fucking...
We all jump on, and the big picture would be like the map, and you personally move your character. You put your stats in there so you can say, I want to attack, and then we'll roll it, add the perks, and add everything up for you. It's a way that like, during the beginning, for most of COVID, since we couldn't meet, we just all did online sessions like every 2 weeks.
That sounds so fun, man. I mean, I totally and entirely derailed us from how we met and who you are. So to get back to that, tell us who you are.
My name is Brandon Votaw. I think we met at, I want to say downtown Fullerton. It probably was one of the nights
college
out.
Party.
Yeah, random party, and just hung out and just connected on the fact of like we're both into nerdy, stupid stuff. Yes. We talked about coming from being these nerdy, quiet cells that were like, oh, I'm not cool, to being like, it doesn't matter what I'm into, I'm cool. And then bonding over like jamming out to One Direction and 5 Seconds of Summer, because like those are my go-to gym mixes all the time. Like if I'm
the shit is so good, dude.
Oh yeah.
Young Blood is great. There's a song called I think More.
Yeah.
It's a super fuzzy, like just as a musician, especially as a guitar player. So I hear so much space and room for me to be like, all right, time to do some Jedi shit. You know what I mean? Like and
it's like they're having fun. And I'm like, I could never get into the like heavy metal, serious workout stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna have fun. I want to be at the gym and be like deadlifting 315 while listening to Taylor Swift. Like that for me is like my energy as I'm going through it, right?
I mean, I get down to some Pantera in the gym too, but it's way funnier to me to envision you deadlifting 315 listening to fucking I got a blaze, baby.
Oh, 100%. Or I've been doing a ton of the pop punk powerhouse is like, and it's all the early 2000s pop punk. So it's like Taking Back Sunday and a little Ocean Avenue in there, you know, jamming out.
So Yellow Card, check this out. Like when I was in middle school and first becoming the music kid, right? And like you mentioned, we bonded early on about like being nerdy, socially awkward kids and having to carve out an identity and figure out who we are. And I remember when I began dressing like a rock and roller, I had this jacket. It was one of my dad's old jackets. I found like patches at Hot Topic and made my mommy sew the patches on me. So I had like Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, like cool, like metal, hard rock bands. And then Yellow Card. And I had no idea that Yellow Card stuck out like a sore thumb, or that like people that would like these bands would find Yellow Card to be lame. Had no idea, was mercilessly ridiculed and teased about it. And then I said, fuck that. I still like Yellow Card. And then years and years and years later, I did Warped Tour one year. And actually the date that we played in Pomona, which was like as local to Riverside where I'm from as the Warped Tour went. I remember that day in line at like the catering section for lunch. Ryan, the main dude from Yellow Card, was in front of me, and I knew who he was, but like I was nervous. I didn't want to say what's up, but like I don't know who this dude is. But he has a full Star Wars. I saw like stormtroopers, and I was like, bro, that is tight as fuck. And we nerded out and bonded over Star Wars stuff. And then I was just thinking to myself, like, yeah, fuck all those kids in middle school, man. This is tight. This is cool.
I remember going to that Warped Tour and seeing you because it was like one of the last ones I went to, because it was like Yellow Card,
you were there.
Taking Back Sunday. I want to say like the Used played, Newfound Glory. It was just like all these people coming of Mice and Men end of the night. And I remember just seeing Yellow Card on a small stage and being like, is that an electric violin they got up there? And just like rock it out. I'm like, this is amazing right now.
So I totally stepped all over that. So you and I met in college. You were living out here in Orange County.
Yeah.
You now live in Atlanta. So tell us about what you're doing out in Atlanta.
I live in Atlanta and I'm back in the working in the film industry. I'm currently lighting console programmer on TV shows and movies. So I create data networks around the set for our lighting. So I take cool lighting order. Like I got one of the lighting orders for one of our sets, and it was 140 these lights called Sky Panel S60s and 4 movers and all these different lights. And I get a lighting order. And then I sit down with the rigging gaffer and the gaffer, and they go, this is how we want to light it out. And I go into Vectorworks, which is it's used for buildings and like architecture and lighting.
So like Photoshop for buildings and lighting and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like so my big thing too is I prep it all. I create it, I patch it in, I get everything ready. So that way when the programmer comes in, because the last couple of shows I've been the rigging LCP, lighting console programmer. So I prep it all, get it all ready, test it, make sure the set's ready. And then the programmer walks in with the gaffer and the director and they light it however they want. I just make sure everything's working and build them their play set, and they walk in and play around and get it all ready.
Gotcha.
But I have done before that, I did actually do my first LCP role on my own show. So I got to do it. I worked on, I'm not sure if you've seen it. It was Underground Railroad on Amazon.
Okay.
Barry Jenkins was the director who did Moonlight and If Beale Street Talks. So it was a big period piece based on, I think it's a Colson Whitehead book, The Underground Railroad. And it's a 10-part miniseries. And it was extraordinary to work on. I'm normally in the superhero field, so I do all the crazy stuff that's kind of like not great. I won't say it's not art, but it's like it is what it is. It's supposed to be fun and crazy.
Perhaps we're not making such heavy social commentary as the Harriet Tubman story.
Exactly. And then we flip to that where I got to do that side of it, and it was all very subtle lighting. It was all these lights between 0 and like 10%. I never brought much lights to full, and it was very subtle, small lighting. Fire flickers were my big thing. Fire and flickers and making little candle flickers and like have a light.
And all that shit's digital? Like you're not actually using real fire and
so
stuff?
Sometimes we are. Yeah, most of it's LEDs, or what they would do is if you see a candle and you ever watch a show, you'll notice there's a lot of orange light. Candles never give off that much light.
Right.
So what you do is we'll put a light next to it, and then I will be creating a fire flicker to amplify the light that this is producing to give that effect. Because you can't always have like one of the big scenes in the we shot at the end was the house catching on fire and them having to escape.
Yeah, you can't have a bunch of actors running out of that shit.
Yeah, so you have a little bits of fire, and then the rest of it's all my lights going in and digitally creating fire effects. I had like lanterns that were LED, so as they walked, we'd go, and I like created a little flicker, but then I also create bump buttons, which are like a button I'd press and expand the flicker. So when she turned, because a flame is going to be steady, but if you're moving, when you move a lantern,
it's going to move.
It's gonna go jump bigger or smaller. So I had to like program extra effects. So I'm watching on camera. She's walking around. I'm like, all right, ready. And she turns quickly, and I press and make the big fire. So it looks like as realistic as possible.
Wow. But one of the things I did have written down was post effects versus practical lighting. And this seems to be like kind of an example of that. So it seems to me like there are instances where like an actor or something is happening in front of you and you're sitting there with buttons like, and now.
There's always going to be that. I mean, because that's the big thing of what I do, especially on superhero stuff. Because at the end of the day, most of it's added in post, right? Like I worked on Black Lightning and Stargirl for DC and CW. And like one of the big things for Stargirl was she has like a floating staff that lights up and moves. So we had an actual staff that lit up and we did effects with. So even though they digitally put the staff in there and made it glow, what they can't easily do is how that affects the world around them. You can digitally put the same thing with like an Iron Man blast. You can digitally put the blast in there, but what's going to make the blue light up around? That takes so much more painting.
The way that the blue light would light up an arm.
An arm or the background. And that's the same thing with the candle. They digitally added fire in later, but the digital fire won't add fire to the room. So I make the practical effect for the room so that they can digitally put a fire in it. The digital looks like it's affecting the world.
Yeah.
So like a lot of the effects are like muzzle flashes. So like whenever I worked on a Godzilla King of Monsters, and one of them that I helped with a little bit was like in the scenes where they're shooting at Ghidorah and like all of them with their guns, they're all fake guns and no one's shooting. So they'll add the bullets in later. But what they need to have is you have a big muzzle flash. So I would make bump cues. So whenever they shot, fire, 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 I'm making the flash. So when they digitally add the gun shooting, the world around you is going to be flashing white. If you don't have that, it pulls you out of it. So it's adding, there's a lot of practical lighting that goes in with these VFX stuff I did the reshoots of Loki. I was the first unit programmer for the reshoots of Loki.
Okay.
So like one of them was there was a scene that was purely shot in the reshoots was, the ship that gets attacked by Alith? There's like a Navy ship and he comes down and attacks the Navy ship. So all the purple that's on them was me. Right. So I had to program an overhead display of lights
that like fades in and comes in.
And it's like offset where like I did a checkerboard where all the checkerboard ones were purple. And then the other ones, so every other light did a moving rolling effect. So there's constant purple, but also a moving purple that dimmed.
Wow.
And then every time there was a lightning strike, I had strobe lights that was like lightning, lightning, lightning. So when they add the lightning in later, you see the flash on set. So I'm sitting there with
this is a whole nother level of visual that like I was not even aware of. I feel like a golden retriever that was just explained to the internet.
I was only on it for a week, but I worked on Spider-Man No Way Home for a short period. And then something happened on Loki and they needed a hand. So they asked me to go give them a hand for 2 weeks, turned into 3 weeks, turned into the last 3 months of shooting.
Turned into a job.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. So it's supposed to be helping out Loki, and then I ended up going. I got called in to do the Sharu, which was the big LED like market where they have a fight scene and they're running through, but the planet's being destroyed.
Oh wow!
So
much purple, lots of purple and green.
Yeah, I was in charge of helping do all those LED fixtures. Like every little sign was a different pixelated LED. So I had to help go, hey, you've got this many universes. Here's all the LEDs were coming in. How many channels? And I just had a puzzle piece go, okay, these three are going to be on one channel. These are on another one. We'll put this here, and had to like help organize. And yeah, I spent 2.5, 3 weeks just doing that one set.
Explain to me the stuff that I've seen here and there about like, I guess COVID protocols as like a blanket subject, but then also like this hours strike or something like that. Explain to me as an uninitiated person what's going on.
So COVID added a whole nother level in general. Like they took it very seriously. I'm pretty sure Spider-Man, from what I heard, had a close to a $1 million COVID budget. So they just spent $1 million just on COVID masks, testing,
tests,
everything. So when we first got back, every morning you'd show up and get temperature checked before you even started your day. And if your temperature was too high, you get sent home. I was COVID tested. Depending if you're on first unit, it's usually 3 days a week. If you're not near the actors or directors on first unit, it's once a week you get tested. And if you get a positive test, you're automatically quarantined for 10 days. I personally, for over 1.5 years now, have been wearing a mask for 12 to 14-hour days inside, outside rigging locations.
How's your carbon dioxide levels, bro? Are you okay?
So whenever I hear someone being like, "Oh, I can't breathe," I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
Suck it the fuck up, you pussy.
It's like I'm in downtown lugging cable, climbing stuff.
Yeah, in Atlanta humidity.
Yeah, exactly. We had 3 days of shooting left on the show I was on, Underground Railroad. Almost done with the show, 3 days of shooting, and we shut down. And we came back for a month just to do 3 days of shooting to finish it off.
Bummer. Yeah.
Yeah. So they shifted to 10-hour days where we didn't take lunches, because what happens is when you take a lunch, you shut down production, everyone leaves, they come back an hour later. You have to get back into the rhythm, actors have to get ready. So sometimes you can waste 1 to 2 hours getting back into the rhythm.
Right.
So some productions, what they would do is they call French hours. You work a 10-hour day and you don't break for lunch. But because of our union rules, if you don't take a lunch at 6 hours, they have to pay you meal penalties. So they would be paying you every increment of time past your 6 hours, they're paying meal penalties. But what they found out was
for everybody,
the whole crew. But that still ended up being cheaper than working like 10-hour days, because they're not paying you the extra 2 hours.
Oh, bummer. So they were like, oh, fuck it. We'll pay for it. We'll just overwork these people.
But like, I personally liked doing 10-hour days because you're in and out. You can have more of a life. Your meal penalties almost end up being the same amount as those extra overtime hours, because we're union. From 8 to 12 hours, you get paid time and a half, and over 12, you get paid double time. So by cutting it to 8 to 10-hour days, you don't have to pay all this overtime. And that was originally meant to stop productions from working crazy hours. Over the last 20, 30 years, it's becoming worse and worse, where productions are like, you know what? We're just going to budget in that we're going to be working 14-hour days. So overtime isn't stopping them because it's too expensive. They're just expecting to pay it now. So there's a lot of crews of shows that are working 14 to 16 hours. On Underground, I had that similar thing where we were working long hours, and I was working an hour away. So I was hour and a half drive to work and back. So I'd work a full day driving back in the middle of the night. I ended up being so tired one night that I was pulling into my parking garage, scraped up and like dented the whole side of my, because I was just half asleep.
Yeah.
And after I think COVID hit, we all took some time off and started decompressing, and we've come back. And more people in the union are like, why are we doing this? We're killing our bodies. Like a normal week for me is 60 hours. That is a minimum week. 5 12-hour days. That's just like
fuck all that.
Bare minimum. Like, and then on like the last show, for 1 week, I think I've worked like 3 days straight with no days off. And they just go, whatever. They push it. Like, and even that's paying penalties. So if you work a 6th day in a row, they pay you time and a half all day. If you work a 7th day, they pay you double time all day.
And they're just, I mean, that sounds like great money, but also like miserable.
Yeah, I don't have a life. Like this is my like week off after a show, and I'm still decompressing, trying to get back into a rhythm. Like so more people are sharing stories of being like, we need to change the industry. So currently right now, IATSE is going into talks for their area standard agreement. Every couple of years, they renegotiate it. IATSE is the film, pretty much the union for almost everything in film. I'm part of Local 479. So we're part of a union. So our union's been renegotiating to like, because of the push from cinematographers and this like accounts becoming more public and sharing it, we're now pushing the fight to be like, we don't want to do this. We don't care that it's extra money. Some people do, but most of us are like, I'd rather have a life. I'd rather make less money.
Have an 8-hour, 10-hour day and then have a healthy sleeping pattern and not have hypertension at 38. Like,
I've questioned whether I want to ever have a family working in this industry, because it's like, you can't be around. You can't ever see people. You can't be there for the baseball game. You can't kind of do that. There've been a lot of the top directors of photography, DPs in the industry that are like, this needs to change. So it used to be all of the lowly level workers complaining and no one cared. And now these bigger
what are they
people,
going to do? They'll just get another way. They'll get somebody else to do it who's excited for the opportunity. Yeah.
A big thing up front in renegotiations is there's classifications for films. And depending on the classification you get, depends on the requirements of what you need to pay your workers. So like there's tier 1 movies and tier 4 movies. So tier 1 would be your like Marvel $200 million, $100 million budget. And the union says, if you've got that budget, you have to pay this level. And then like your tier 4, the smaller $20 million films, they're like, cool, you are a smaller project. You're not going to be expecting as much from your people. So you can pay your people less because that's where your money lands. One of the tiers that were created was videos on demand. Which is all anything streaming got placed in video on demand, and those got added in.
Is that every Netflix thing?
So pretty much that got at Netflix, Disney Plus
Netflix
shows.
has some big budgets though.
Exactly. So, but this happened. They
Wait
added
a minute.
this on.
Am I jumping ahead in the story? So Netflix, because they fall under the streaming umbrella, can get by and skirt and pay people dog shit because they fall under the lower tier.
And they're used to people saying, I want to do Marvel stuff, so I'm going to take less money and so I can be part of this Marvel thing. Well, now they're pumping these shows out with over $100 million per piece. And I've got CW shows that are offering my crew members a higher rate than Marvel streaming shows are. The rate that my dimmer techs, which is like the people underneath me that help, because that's part of what I've started doing now is I don't just negotiate, I want my rate. If I can't get a good rate for my crew, I'm not doing your show.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I need my guys to be taken care of.
I need my guys taken care of because there's so much work going on. I had a conversation on the last show where I was talking to one of the big gaffers I've worked on who's done big stuff, like Avengers Endgame, and that like he's done the big stuff. And I talked to him and he kind of was like, hey, I love what you're doing. I want you to come work for me and like board up for me. And I'm very much starting to realize like I'm starting to get a seat at the table. Like I am moving up in my career and like able to have my voice heard. And I had to sit down with myself and go, okay, cool. I'm going to be at that table. There's a lot of bullshit that goes on at that table. A lot of bullshit of not taking care of their people, not taking care of your crew, taking all the money for yourself as the main importance and leaving the scraps for the rest of your crew. Also, a real big thing is not even just electricians, like the dimming and control world, which is what I do, which is a small niche of the film industry as a whole. My guess is like 90% are probably white male, maybe 5% are white female. And then the other 5% are other, anyone of color. And I, funny enough, fall in the other category because I'm half Chinese. So that's enough for me to look different in the industry. Like when I first started in the industry, I remember one of the first shows I worked on, they found out I was half Chinese and my nickname was Ching Chong on set. And I told that to like the best
we're gonna get
boy.
into so much of that. I'm excited. With respect, I'm excited because fuck me, goodness.
Yeah, so like I brought that up to like my boss, and that guy was one of his buddies. That was one of his biker buddies, and they all rode their bikes together in a motorcycle club.
No, bro, you don't get it. He's cool. He doesn't mean it like that.
Oh, not even that. It was, you need to toughen up. If you want to be in this industry, you need to learn to toughen up. And I think I finally had that point where I was like, you know what? I'm having a seat at the table. And I decided I had some instances where I was like, you know what? Screw that. I'm going to change the table. Either A, I'm going to get kicked out and never work.
Or the table's going to be different.
I'm going to make the table. So like my big rule now is, unless the dimming crew is 50% women or people of color, I'm not working on it.
Nice.
We live in Atlanta. There's no reason you can't
find any minorities there, bro? I don't know.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like, and that's funny. It's like, joking as that is, I would still say the film industry is probably 75% white people in Atlanta. Right. And you're like, how is this happening? And the reason is you train up people around you. The way you get more dimmer techs is I need to take someone that has no skill or low skill and teach them. On my crew, it was me. The LCP was white. I had 3 dimmer techs and that were white males, and I got 2 more added, and I asked our best boy, the title is best boy, which is like the second in command of our rigging crew. They do all the manpower. So I asked her, I was like, do you know any females that know data or would be interested to learn? And she was like, I got you. So she found me 2 people, and they're pretty green, not really knowing it. I was like, no, I'm going to train you guys up. And they were telling me how, like, if they show up 5 minutes late, it's a reason to fire them. And it happens all the time. Same thing if you're a person of color. And it's like, no, I'm kind of over that. So like I'm trying to set up and change. And I told myself, like, I'm ready for that. There was this guy who kind of I've talked to a lot of crew members, and he's kind of been an asshole to a lot of people. He's been in the industry for years. He's made sexist jokes and remarks to some of the females. He made creepy comments when I was on set or rigging and walking up to a girl like, hey, where do you live? I'm like, dude, that's kind of creepy. But everyone goes, oh, it's just that guy. It's just that guy. It's no big deal. I had a project coming up where they asked me to work on it. And I said, oh, is that guy working? And I told the gaffer, cool, I refuse to work on a show that he's on. And I said, everyone I talk to doesn't like him, but he's had so many years in the industry and he knows so many people that he's going to get on no matter what. So my job is maybe more in demand. And I'm going to be like, you have a choice. And I'm going to start doing that. There's a lot of work. And it's like, I would rather be out of work for a little while than to help perpetuate the cycles that are going on.
And then the flip side, to be able to get the opportunity to work with people that I know are good people that are helping to build a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that's my goal. My goal is to help train up more people, train up different people, because like, and it was great. One of the girl that trained up was amazing and the most organized I've seen, and helped everybody else get more organized. I'm like, see, this is what we need. That's the other downside of keeping it all the same. If you're all working with the same people that look the same things are going to slip through the cracks.
สวัสดีครับท่านทั้งหลายผมชื่อ Darth Whiskey aka Pal you know what's good with your boy นะครับแล้วก็อยู่ที่นี่วันนี้สำหรับที่จะแนะนำเพื่อนที่บริษัท Fromonda นะครับนี่คือบริษัทอเมริกาแท้ๆนะครับมาจากรัฐแอริโซนาแล้วก็มันเป็นผงสำหรับที่จะทาตัวทาที่จักรแล้ทาที่เท้าทาที่ไข่นะครับไข่อเมริกันที่ใหญ่จังเพราะว่ามาจากรัฐอเมริกาใช่ไหมครับแล้วก็จะกั้นจากความชื้นความเหม็นจะทำให้ตัวรู้สึกว่าสบายแล้วก็แห้งทั้งวันทั้งคืนนะครับแล้วก็เดี๋ยวนี้ถ้าท่านเข้าไปในเว็บนะครับไปเว็บไซต์ fromonda.com fromonda.com นะครับแล้วก็ใช้โค้ดว่า dojo สะกดว่า dojo ท่านจะได้ 15% ลดออกthis is the part where if in Thai I could say that it'll make your dick bigger, I would say that it would make your dick bigger. But the problem that I'm now realizing as this bit continues to fall apart is that the people that taught me how to speak Thai were my parents, and they didn't teach me how to say dick. So I'm pretty sure that the only way that I know how to say the word penis in Thai is like the English equivalent of saying the word weenie. And I I don't think it hits nearly as hard. I don't think it has nearly the same kind of impact. Guys, what I'm telling you right now, Fromonda.com, Fromonda.com. Promo code is Dojo, 15% off your order checkout. Get this powder. It'll help keep your balls not be sweaty. And they smell good, and it'll feel nice. That was a funny idea, I thought. I spent a lot of time on it. It was funny. Tell me I'm funny. The episode that I recorded prior to this one was a buddy of mine who works in advertising, and he and I were talking about, like, not necessarily performative activism, but like when a company changes their logo to like a pride flag or some shit like that, and then August happens, and then it's like back to the old logo. We don't like the gays anymore.
Right back to donating to all the anti-gay campaigns.
Exactly.
It's gone.
But the flip side of that, right? Like the positives of representation, of diversity in storytelling and voices being heard is, if we want to pivot, I don't know how much of a clean bounce pass this is. So you said you're half Chinese, right? So you're half white, half Chinese. I'm full Thai. Both my parents were born in Bangkok. But as an American, being born here, right? Being born in Southern California, and having kind of a foot in each culture, right? Of like, this is my Asian heritage. This is my American heritage, or like at least the heritage that I'm forging for myself when I go to school, when I have American friends, when I speak English, when I move through the world as an American man. Shang-Chi.
Holy cow.
By the time this episode comes out, it'll probably be like at least a month and a half, 2 months maybe. I'm not necessarily too worried about spoilers, but I want to talk about this movie as much as we can without giving things away in case anybody watches. I cried a lot. It doesn't take a lot for me to cry, to be moved, not even just by sad stuff, but like by things that are beautiful, things that are profound, things that are special, things that are cute and sweet and stuff like that. Lots of good crying in Shang-Chi too. It felt so good to see so many aspects of my childhood, of my journey from childhood into adolescence and adulthood. Like, there were so many themes that were represented and shown on screen. As a connoisseur of the Marvel comics, to my understanding, Shang-Chi is not a major character. He's not like a nobody, but he's not huge.
He's based off of a racial stereotype, 100%. I remember when I read my first couple Shang-Chi comics, I threw them away because I went, this isn't the representation I want. Because I remember I read some of the old ones, and like in the old story, I'm not sure how versed you are in it.
I'm not, so please inform me.
The basis was his father was a villain, just like in this. In the comics, he was a villain named Fu Manchu. So his father was the like stereotypical racist Asian kung fu master. Yeah. And his villain's name was Fu Manchu. And like, so like, I remember reading that and being like, I related more to Spider-Man because I was a nerdy kid growing up. I couldn't relate to racist stereotypes. So I remember throwing it out. And then when I heard they were going to make a Shang-Chi, I remember picking up some of the new modern comics and going, okay, there's still some of that in there, because they don't rebrand it totally, but it's a little different. And it was really great to see them give Asian writers and directors, hey, take this character, but do what you want with him to make him feel more comfortable. And the way they did that, I think, was amazing and really well done, with honors to it, saying like throughout the years, I've been named after all these things, to kind of incorporate that side of it. That was never my name though. That I think felt and hit me, because it was like, yes, like I can relate to that so much. Like, there were some white dudes that named him Fu Manchu in the comics, and him saying, I am this person. I have been called all this stuff, but that's not who I am. And like that, like resonated for me so much. It reminded me a little bit of a tangent, and I'll get back to this. It was very powerful because for me, the first Marvel project I ever got to work on was Black Panther. That was the very first Marvel project I got to work on full time.
Dude, tell me all about that. We'll get to Shang-Chi. I have plenty of notes, but Black Panther, what was that like?
So that was my very first dimming job. The first job I worked back in coming into the industry after quitting was Fast 8. And I started asking myself, hey, you're programming a light. What do you do? Do you need help? So I learned how to program
questions,
the lights.
being helpful, being available. Yeah. Absolutely. This is how we do it.
So then I became the guy that whenever lights were in trouble, I was the guy to troubleshoot. So I got in the lift and I'd go up top and they'd be like, I think it's wrong. I'm like, oh, it's getting the wrong universe. And I learned how to troubleshoot and I learned how to fix things. So the next project, that same dimming team said, I'm doing Black Panther. We want you to come on as a dim tech. And I was like, yes, let's do it. So I got to do it. You've got to give as much honor to Black Panther because they set it up. They allowed Black Panther Black creators everywhere. There were writers, the director, the costumes, everything was very respectful because they gave a voice to the people of color to make it. And that success, from what, if you read the interviews, is what they did with Shang-Chi. They got the Asian writers, the Asian directors, Asian music. Like, I'm not sure, I'm assuming you have too. I've been jamming out to that soundtrack nonstop.
Okay, so by the time this episode has been released, surely I've released the cover. I haven't recorded yet, but like next on the guitar cover to-do list is the song that's playing during the bus fight. It's kind of dubsteppy. It's like a lot of sub. Bow, 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 wow.
I got a flight in the morning, I see what you've been trying to do, and I'm a mission to board it. You think I never pay attention? In my mind I'm recording, I'm about to win and ruin all your goals and dreams out of boredom. Riding around my homies like we run the city. Looking fresh, you feeling like a million. Moving silence, you can never hear me. If you got a problem when you see me, run it.
In general, it felt very much like respectful of the culture, embracing the parts of the culture that are central to the storytelling, right? Like the larger concepts of like honor and legacy and expectation, all these things. Like the fact that he's Asian, the fact that any of these characters are Chinese is like the third part of their character. You know what I mean? Like Shang-Chi is a son, the dad character, trying to keep his family together, trying to get back his wife. Like, subtract all the kung fu and the superhero shit out of it. Like, amazing storytelling. Just, I was so happy, dude. As an Asian American kid, surely there were multiple moments as you watched the movie where like, wow, been through that. Wow, had that conversation. Grandma's like, when are you gonna get married? You're too fat. You're too skinny. The Awkwafina character. So she represented to me the American part of me that has to reconcile with like the Thai part of me, right? Like, so the parts of me that believe in forging my own path, like being an independent thinker, and like scenes where she's speaking in English while her relatives and elders are speaking to her in Mandarin.
When she first gets up to the top of the elevator and she's like, sorry, I don't speak Chinese. Like, my Chinese is rusty. Like that relating of like, never feeling at home in either world because we live in this different spot.
I'm too Asian for the American kids. I'm too American for the Asian kids. Yeah. And let's be clear too. I don't think I ever felt super bullied because of it. But one thing that has become a lot more evident to me as I've gotten older is like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I am a lot of my friends' Asian friend. Oh, right. Yeah. Like, and then it gets weird and uncomfortable. It's like, all right, that's cool. I guess I don't have much of a problem with that. But it's like, all right, what kind of jokes are y'all motherfuckers making when I'm not around? Right. Yeah. Or like, are there things that you would laugh at? Are there memes that you see that you send to other people, but you don't include me on that meme because you know it would offend me or make me sad or hurt my feelings? That's something that I've become a little bit more aware of or conscious of as I get older. And like, it's fun. It's fun in the like the tee hee ha ha way. Anytime do a eccentricadis, we will force a Queen Amadara to eat a chicken teriyaki. Like, what the fuck, right? Yeah. But like, it's also, all right, cool, dude. I don't need to be part of perpetuating that and like continuing those things. How many times have you met somebody in a bar or like in a conversation and then you like say like, oh yeah, I'm half Chinese, and like, oh dude, there's a Chinese spot near my house and da da da. It's like, we weren't talking about appetizers, but if you want to talk about food, I guess we can distill my identity as a human to a cuisine, you motherfucker.
That's how they relate. That's the closest they ever get to being there. So they're trying to connect, but it's also so distant of like, cool, it's not what you're saying, but the message behind it. The reasoning you're connecting to me that way is because you want to say, I don't mind fine. Asians. See, I eat. I'm go one to of Asian the good restaurants. Ones. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that mentality right there is the bigger issue. And I think as we become adults, and I think thanks to being more aware of it, like we see those things. We never noticed it before when we were younger in college. Because it was just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not being directly looked at, or there's not direct racism directed at me, so it doesn't exist, to now being like, oh.
I mean, my name is Pow, right? And I spell it P-O-U. My parents spelled it P-O-U. They wanted to spell it P-O-W, and then my sister had the genius idea of not wanting me to have like anything similar to like a prisoner of war, right? Like the acronym. In hindsight, phonetically would have been a lot more helpful, guys. But I remember like very recently I met somebody and it's like, oh yeah, my name's Pat. Because like, especially now online and for anything that I do that involves a guitar or like me on the internet, it's Darth Whiskey, right? Because an American English speaking person can comfortably read Darth Whiskey and know what this is. P-O-U-P-I-A-M. Pow-P-M is a little bit harder for English speakers to pronounce. And then there was the whole identity crisis issue of like changing my name, thus that other people can, should I change who I am, thus that the world can receive me more clearly. I don't have a big problem with it, right? But the point that I'm trying to get at with all this is like very recently I met somebody and I was like, oh yeah, my name is Pow. And then as you do, as I've heard a multitude of times, oh, Kung Pao chicken. Yeah. And I'm like, again, it doesn't hurt my feelings, but I'm like, dog, that's all you got. That's the first joke. That's the first. You could find the fourth one, right? Like find whatever, like go deeper into the references and come up with a better nickname, a better reference for this. You can.
That's like me looking at you, me looking at someone that's 7 foot tall and going, how's the weather up there? Like it's not, you're not doing something new and
easiest softball down the middle. Like
you want to like
not
be creative with it. At least I'll have respect for you trying and being creative. But like, no, like it's not, it's for me, it's not like, I'm not hurt by it. I just lost respect for you because I'm like, oh, that's the kind of person.
I thought you were better than that, but I guess not. Yeah. I thought you were a little more original than that. Dude, so much of the movie was good, man. I mean, like first off, we can talk about all sorts of different definitions of masculinity, especially in 2021. 2 minutes into the movie, this motherfucker is shirtless. He wakes up in bed and he like turns his alarm clock off and you just see, oh, bleaks and like a 19 pack. And it's him sitting on his bed. And it's almost as, I mean, certainly I don't think this was what they had in mind during the shot, but it was like 4 seconds of him sitting on his bed like, nah, motherfucker, I'm ripped too. Right? Like when I saw that, at least what I got from it was like, oh, whoa, this dude's got a night. First off, fuck you and your 19 pack. Right. But also like, man, this is one of the first times that I can remember, especially in such an American context of like Marvel movie, right? This is the first time I remember seeing on screen like a very strong, handsome Asian lead, right? Like this identity of Asian masculinity, right? Like we got like, I love you, Ken Jeong, right? Like I like the Hangover movies, but that motherfucker set us back a lot. Right, the Mr. Chat, like
just
toodaloo motherfuckers, but did you die? The like all that stuff. Like it's funny, it's ha funny, but Shang-Chi or Sean, the character, the actor, all of it as a strong masculine Asian man was so fucking cool for me to see. All the dad stuff, like I didn't know a lot about the character or any of the characters going into the movie, but one could safely assume based on trailers and based on what we do know about it, it's like, all right. Kid's going to have daddy issues. Dad's going to have expectations. Son is going to reject those expectations, et cetera, et cetera. Like this is a real common theme, especially among Asian storytelling. How are they going to do this? That's going to be interesting and compelling, especially for a wider international audience. So good. So fucking good.
It made me have so many feelings, and I know we're jumping around, so I'm going to jump back to where it was because I almost got to where it was with the Panther was.
Go, my bad. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, no. I love it. Like, I love jumping back and forth. But yeah, so I got to finish working on it. And I got to lucky enough, they do crew screenings. They rent out the Fox Theater here in downtown Atlanta. And what they did was Atlanta has a ton of historically Black colleges, like, right?
HBCUs.
So they invited a ton of students from high schools and colleges to come to the screening with all the cast and crew. And I remember being in that theater and hearing the cheers and hearing the excitement. And I still tear up a little bit thinking about it.
I'm about to start crying, dude. Like, this is wild.
I got to be part, like knowing that I got to help their story get told was powerful. Like I have a tattoo on my leg of a giant Black Panther because part of what I'm doing is I'm going to start doing IMDb legs where I want to get all the projects I've worked on a tattoo. So the first one I got, this was like 2 weeks after Chadwick passed away. I went in and it's a massive just panther on the back of my right calf. And that was in honor of that because like it was powerful for me to sit there and watch. And when I saw Shang-Chi, it was like, it was so powerful. Like, and there's a lot of stuff wrapped up in it too. So I, back in January, lost my grandma to COVID.
Yeah. Love you, man. Sorry to hear.
Her and both of her brothers and one of her brother's wives. So we lost a whole generation of family in about a 2-week span to COVID. So like a lot of that came up and it was I think it was powerful to kind of see something that I knew it would have been great for my grandma to see. But the coolest part for me is I wasn't in the credits, but I had probably tiniest portion of it. There's one scene where we won't talk about who it is, but after the big fight, after the fight in the beginning, they open a portal and two characters go back through the portal. Wong is one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
In through the portal, there's a set piece that like looks like that was one of our set pieces on She-Hulk that I worked on. So like that set,
I know who that character is.
Later.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then also towards the end, there is a post-credit scene where one of the characters with a is a hologram. That was shot by our crew, and I got to prep those sets. So those two sets, very small pieces, but like for me, that was powerful. I got to do part of it. So like one of my next tattoos is I'm definitely getting the dragon in partial water form somewhere on my leg just to be part of it. But like listening to people connect and listening to like our story being told, listening to the grandma nitpicking reminded me of my own grandma, because how often I would talk to her and she'd be like, Brandon, when are you gonna get a real job? Like, I love you. When are you getting a real job? Like, even though I work in the film industry, I do all this stuff. And it reminded me of her. And it was like towards the end when he's like, your mother is always watching, she's there. There were so many aspects that like we were seeing. Like that's, I think, all we wanted to be, especially after this year, after all the fucking bullshit of,
oh, you mean the Kung flu, Brandon?
The Kung flu, and like
you mean the China virus, you motherfucker?
Seeing Chinese grandmothers that remind me of my own grandmother being attacked on the street, and the media doing nothing until people stood up. Like that feeling of unseen started washing away. I think the only other really Asian character in the Marvel universe before that was what's his name, Randall Park's agent. That
love him.
But like that's what they give to Asian people. They're like, oh, you get the small part right here. And I feel like that was I agree the same thing. I feel like it was the director's choice of being like, oh, you're gonna wake up shirtless because we're gonna say Asians are here.
19-pack. Out loud, I said, fuck you. Like, go fuck yourself, bro.
Welcome to the world. We're not just the sidekick. We're not just the funny guy.
Absolutely.
Like, prepare to drool over us. We aren't going to be that anymore. And it was like,
on top of the fact that he's got like a fucking charming smile and an endearing personality, and like Simu, the actor himself. Like, I don't know how much of this you've been keeping up on, but like, this motherfucker's on Reddit. He plays video games. He's talking about like how wild it is that he got to eat with Angelina Jolie. Like, this is a person who is grateful, and especially too, like your experience of being like a working creative, like somebody trying to climb up the ranks, and like
super nerdy. I watch him now, like following his Instagram, and he's like playing Super Smash Brothers the night before the premiere with all of his buddies, and like. You probably love this just as much as me, as when he was on his last movie, and I think the DR, he adopted rescued a dog and brought it back home. So his dog is a rescue that he just found on the streets. And like,
and I can't relate to that at all. You know what I mean? Like,
same thing. I got a little rescue pup, and it's just like, it's amazing to see someone so grateful and like so happy to be there and so excited. Legitimately,
this is one of my top 5 MCU movies. I haven't figured out what the actual rankings are, but like legit, this is one of the best outings from this universe of storytelling that has been so good. And again, like the fact that he's Asian, like I'm not even Chinese, I'm Thai, you know what I mean? Like this isn't even my culture, but it's still that special to me to see these things so much that I can relate to.
And I think they purposely went through, like you talk about the relationships, because that's what we can relate to. One of the scenes that's super subtle, but hit me hard was the like the Asian approval of like, you know, our parents would always tell us they love you or they're proud of us. It's a very little scene, but it's Awkwafina's character, and she grabs the bow and she's like, I'm gonna go help. And the other woman's like, no, you don't need to do this. And she's like, I'm gonna help. And the older male who's like teaching her and hard with her just looks at her and goes, don't die. And like, I know you can relate, like that, those unspoken words, him saying there means,
you got this.
I know you can do this. I'm proud of you. And like, because we don't get those words. We coming from like Asian parents, we don't get the I'm proud of you. I don't ever remember it.
I've never gotten it. It's the central conflict of my life, the central conflict between my relationship with my mother. Let's leave this in for the podcast. This is great listening, right, guys? Enjoy. I related so much to the family conversations, things like the little brother. Like, I am the little brother, right? Like my sister's older than me by 7 years. And that there's a scene in the movie where like, the two main characters, Shang-Chi and Katie, Awkwafina's character, are leaving a family breakfast, and there's some kind of conversation about like they work like, dead end, like 9 to 5 job, like they're valet drivers, right? And which is anything, if we're the country of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, you go earn a paycheck, it's a respectable one as far as I'm concerned. You do whatever you got to do for a paycheck. Go do your thing. But this conversation of like living up to the family legacy and like when are you going to make the family proud and
我知道你们觉得我很傻。
We don't think it's silly, White Paw. We just know White Gong would have wanted you to move on and enjoy your life.
Moving on is an American idea.
You're American, Mom. Don't forget.
Sean, did my daughter apply to any new jobs this week?
She really likes her job. We both do.
Wai Gong didn't move here from Hunan so you could park cars for a living.
Well, on that note, I think we're gonna miss our bus.
all those things, man. Like it's conversations that I have had and continue to have today, and continue to figure out. But then like, okay, I want to zoom out for a second and talk about the other cool things, and then later I will take the crying baton from you, and I'll do some crying. Other things that I loved about the movie. I'm not a super heavy martial arts movie like nut. Like my dad's not with us anymore. He passed in 2007. Before he passed, obviously, especially because of the culture, we watched a fuck ton of martial arts movies, right? So like, Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee was a big one. And Crouching Tiger, I think we all saw as a family in the theaters. The last movie we ever saw together as a family in this house where I'm living now was Ong Bak 2. And especially too because he's Thai and like that whole thing. They did so many beautiful homages to like old school martial arts, kung fu,
that
karate
pose
movies.
In the bus scene where he just like, because he's talking that Bruce Lee pose. Like there's so many homages to that.
I don't know if you caught this. The first line that he says when like the assailants are coming in, and he's about to go fuck some shit up. I laughed when I read the subtitles, or I'm pretty sure he says it in Chinese, which is what makes this part special to me. Because even though I can't understand Chinese, in the subtitles, what the subtitles say as he's getting ready, as the fight scene is kicking off and he's about to go fuck some shit up, the subtitle says, "I don't want any trouble." And as a martial arts movie fan, I saw that, I read that, and I laughed instantly. And none of the other dudes that I was with were laughing. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe I am projecting a reference where there is not a reference. But I'm almost entirely positive, and perhaps I will do some research that will pop up here.
I don't want trouble.
That's got to be a nod to Jackie Chan, right? Like,
Please. I said I don't want trouble. That's bad for you.
right? Like he says that in like every movie, and the first thing that he says in Chinese is,
我不想惹麻烦.
The director has said there's a ton of it. He said that he's like the whole movie there are nods to Chinese culture and movies and kung fu films.
When I think of who Jackie Chan is as a martial arts performer, as an actor, like in those kinds of movies, Jackie Chan uses his environment and the things around him as weapons, as part of his fighting. And Shang-Chi did that too. Like there's a part in the bus fight scene where he like grabs a guy by his shirt and like bangs him against like the railing that you would hang onto on the bus. Like he's doing all sorts of wild parkour shit.
That was what was done really well. I know the director even joked about like he had to tell him to slow down because they couldn't capture all the movement at 24 frames per second.
That's
because he just is so fast.
To me. So many of these fights were like fast. Like if you blink, you miss 3 blocks and moves. And I'll say like there's, as in many Marvel movies, the big third act fight scene where it gets really CGI heavy. He's like, we're gonna bleep this part.
I don't want trouble.
That took me out of it a little bit.
But that fight with his dad was like very grounded.
Grounded is the perfect adjective for it. Again, zooming out, the overarching macro level of the movie is central to a lot of East Asian Confucian philosophy of like combining the light and the dark, right? Like taking the best and worst parts of your family legacy and who you are, who your parents were, and using that to forge an identity and a story for yourself. And then watching that played out like on like a father-son level, that fight scene as the culmination of the father-son conflict and legacy and like history and past versus future, like where we've been versus where we're going. It was so beautiful. And the dude, the actor, I'm not super familiar with him because I don't know that many old school Chinese kung fu cinema movies. Tony Leung.
Yeah.
How I'm mispronouncing his name. I'm pretty sure he's like the Anthony Hopkins of China.
He
right?
is
Like he's legendary. He's like the motherfucker of Chinese acting.
Also like very Liam Neeson-esque. Like he is the older badass dude. Like anything he's in, he is this amazing. I'm not just an amazing actor, but like the badass guy that shows up in it. And like you saw like all these characters from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and all of these different actors that they brought. Like the cast is insane to think about.
Amazing.
Like,
yeah.
Oh
Michelle,
my gosh.
I believe her last name is Yo. I hope I'm mispronouncing it. I'm not Chinese, man. Sorry. And that too, that homage to like wire work style of like I think it's called wuxia movies.
Yeah. That first, the fight where the dad and mom meet, and you're just like, oh, it's so beautiful.
It's
and like
fighting, but it's dancing.
Yeah.
Here's where I'll take the crying from you, Brandon. Like I've mentioned a handful of times, I lost dad in 2007, and he was a big martial arts movie fan, and he would have loved this movie. I mean, especially because so much of the story of this movie is the son and the expectations of the father and the legacy of the father and stuff. He's doing incorrect things, but in his head, he thinks he's doing the right thing.
And he's doing the Asian thing of like, you don't talk about it, you don't deal with it.
Why would you talk about it? You go inward, you bottle it up, you fucking deal with the problem.
And you be the man and the dad, and you keep pushing the family forward.
Man, here's where the tears are going to start coming. There were a lot of conversations that I had with him about like, hey man, I'm not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
Right. And things that I would have to deal with when he was gone. Not even just on like a family level, but like you're going to have to figure out how to be a man by yourself.
Yeah.
And something happens, and then the child version of Shang-Chi gets a lot more serious about his martial arts training.
That scene where he's in the suit with his dad just walking through, just like, oh man.
That's just got chills when you said that. Like that's one of the most powerful scenes in the movie for me, because the shot is the dad and the son walking towards the camera, and son is terrified. Dad walks into the bar to go fuck some shit up. And the perspective of the shot is framed such that you don't see you do see on screen what the dad is doing. He's fighting, he's fucking all these gangsters up. You see it from the perspective of the kid, the son, watching it. And there's like a mirror wall reflection. And it was such a powerful shot of like the kid seeing the ways that the parent now has to carry the burdens by themselves, right? And like after losing dad and the conflicts that arose from mom being a single mom, and
like you can relate to it, the him having to step up to be there for his sister in both of the roles, but he's not sure how to be the man for her, so he's following his dad's lead and he doesn't know where to go. And then just a whole runaway part of like how much of we put so much pressure on us, how much of us second generation, third generation Asian Americans do that exact same thing. I know I did.
Our parents would be so much happier if we were doctors, dude. You know what I mean? If we weren't trying to do silly, crazy things with our arms and putting artwork on them and growing our hair out like women and stuff, you know, just be a normal kid.
Funny enough, probably a year ago, last time I saw my grandma.
Hey man, real quick, and I'm going to interrupt. I love you. Appreciate this. This means a lot to me. But I don't know how much I'm going to keep in, but like, especially as I get older, these conversations are so valuable to me, dude. Especially, again, I'll mention too, from an ethnic place. Like, thanks.
Yeah,
love you.
Of course, dude. I love you, man. And so my grandma, like I said, died back in January. And it was probably about 2 years ago was the last time I saw her in person. And I walk up and I go see her. And I'm like, how are you doing, Grandma? And the first thing she goes, when are you going to cut your hair? When are you going to stop getting tattoos and get a real job? That is the introduction, that like Asian of like, but that's also her way of saying I love you, because that means she's keeping up and she's watching what I'm doing.
She cares enough. She's invested enough.
Yes. Yeah, because in her mind, and it's not as much as like she wants me to be a doctor. In her mind, that's what success was. That's how you made sure as an Asian American you were successful. Absolutely. That's how you made sure, because you weren't going to get the opportunities in film 50 years ago. You weren't going to get the opportunities in music 50 years ago. And it's not that they don't think that music is there. They know from their experience, if they would have tried to do music, they would have been laughed out of the room, and they just don't want you to be laughed out of the room. And it's just like so much of
Here
that.
Come
like,
the waterworks, dude.
Yeah. And it's like so much of that. Like, and so you talking about that of like getting the tattoos and like being rebellious and different, and like how much I remember trying to be white right out of college because I didn't want to be different. I didn't want to be the Asian American. I didn't want to be the Fu Manchu, the Ching Chong, and how much I ran from, just like Sean did, ran from his Asian roots because he was scared of them, that he was going to end up like them. And like now coming to be 33 years old and like trying to embrace that and like,
yeah, we're bad motherfuckers now.
Yeah, like part of why I got the Asian tattoos was to be like, yeah, I've got a foo dog on my arm that I have right here. And it's just like the cherry blossoms and that side of it. And it's now learning to come back to it like he did. And so much of that journey was him taking the bad part of himself. And like when he took part of the rings to be like, I can use this that you have used for evil for good. And like taking that Asian culture back. I think like you and I are in that same boat of like, I'm part of it mixed, and I think part of that's why I always connected with you is because so many Asian Americans, I feel like, do the extreme of I've got to either A, I'm just the nerdy, non-sexual self.
They go full fob or they go full Trumpy.
Yeah, exactly. Full Trumpy. I'm going to be the best. I'm going to be the best minority. I'm going to be the good, like the picture perfect minority. I'm going to become super tough. No, it's like, no, I screw that. Like I've always said, like, the true masculinity of like being a man of like, yes, I love D&D and I love all this shit and I love to cry fucking during movies. And
also, this is who the fuck I am. Like,
yeah,
I would rather be able to feel these emotions and to feel this closeness to this medium of art. Yeah, boys are taught not to cry because it's weak. I think the strongest thing you can do as a human, subtract gender and genitalia out of it, is to be honest and transparent with your emotions. When you're angry, be angry. Feel the fire of that fury. Lots of alliteration. When you're sad, cry. You know what I mean?
Being out in Georgia is very different than being in California. Being out here last year, I had multiple instances where I was told to go back where I came from and take my Kung Flu with me. And like,
you mean Brea, you motherfucker?
that point where the mom looks at Shang when he's a kid and goes, you have that same dragon within you. You have that family love and that heritage. And how much of it's like, I do. And like, how much of it, and even the fact of him choosing the name Sean to like separate himself, but still just be easier. Like
close.
That joke, that it was a joke for it, but like how many people, like you talked about, like, have I thought about changing my name just slightly so I fit into this world?
So that it's easier. There's less friction.
Yeah.
So I don't have to deal with the person. Wait, you said Poe? I don't want to have to do a double take. My name's Tyler, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Or Paul, just to make it like exactly. I'm close. Like you probably had those same thoughts growing up, being like, maybe I should just go by Paul from now on because it's close enough. My mom could call me Pal and people wouldn't second guess or look at me, but they could pronounce my name. So much of the unspoken was in there because I feel like so much of Asian culture is unspoken. Like that film did so great.
Let's talk about the word unspoken. There's a scene, you know instantly what I'm talking about. Anybody who's seen the movie knows exactly what I'm talking about. Without explicitly saying it, there is a scene in which the father character looks at Shang-Chi and he does not say a word. And with his face conveys so many things in like just a 10-second one-shot zoom, like a very slow zoom in as something is occurring. And of all the shots, all the things in the movie, the one that just punched me directly in the cock. I'm sure there's a word for it. I think my dad called it heading because he didn't have a better word for it. He was explaining to me. I'm good. We're going to get it. We're good. He once explained to me, surely when I was a kid, that when you love someone and you need to get ideas from your head, messages, thoughts, whatever it is, from your head into their head. You put your forehead against theirs, and then you just think really hard, right? There might be some Chinese name for this, or he made it up and it's not Chinese at all, and it's just a thing that he made up for me. There is a scene in which the dad puts his forehead up against the kid.
Yeah.
And just crushed me in the best way of like, oh man, that's me and my daddy. My daddy used to do that with me. And he used to have all sorts of lessons and things that he would warn me about and things that he told me I'd have to prepare for when he wasn't here. And as a 30-year-old man continuing to put Rogaine on his face so that he can grow a beard one day, perhaps. These are things I continue to wrestle with, but seeing it on screen and executed in such an honest way, just it made me feel so good. I was so happy leaving this movie.
The dad that, look, for me, what I read into it was like, I'm proud of you. Like,
proud of you. I'm sorry. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do. Actually, I think if I had to subtract one thing from all of it was, I knew you could do it. And I don't know what's going to happen once I croak, but if one day I get to run into my dad again, I hope by the end of it, I have done the necessary things to be able to prove, like, I told you I got this.
Yeah. Like for me, it was he saw his wife and his son and the best, and he saw that his son became the best of him and his wife. Like that is, I think, that is the wish of all Asian parents. Like that is why they're so hard on us, because they don't want us to be like them. They never want us to end up like them, but they don't want us to become the bad parts of themselves. So they are so strict and they push so hard. The white person way is being soft, but also still being caring. And the Asian way of being soft is like only criticizing some things. Like, you know what I mean? Like
there's a Thai concept called Glang Chai, right? Which I guess to directly translate into English is like hyper considerateness, right? Like, I don't want to put you out by doing this thing, so I won't ask for like I would rather be uncomfortable and sit with my uncomfortability than inconvenience my friend, my associate, whoever it is, by asking for something that would relieve me of my uncomfortability, right? Like, hey man, do you need us to turn on the AC? Do you want a glass? Like declining glasses of water, things of that nature, right?
I understand that, like what you're talking about culturally, because it's like I will purposely not spend money on myself for food, but when I go out with friends, I'm paying the whole tab.
Right.
Like,
yes.
because that's how I tell you I love you. Like my mom never bought herself something new, but if we needed something, we had it. We played a game to help us was we would cut coupons, right? And if you could find the coupon and the item was also on sale and a coupon, we could get it no matter what it was. It could be Fruit Loops, it could be whatever. And she'd buy the max. So in the garage, there was probably 20 to 30 boxes of cereal that were in order of expiration date. So if you wanted the Fruit Loops, I'd have to eat the Cheerios before I could get to the Fruit Loops. But the reason for that was when I had friends come over, she wanted us to have whatever she needed for us. So I could have any bags of chips. So she would spend hours getting them on sale for 40 cents so that when friends came over, I could give them whatever.
In an effort to accommodate the others. Like this is...
And for hours of work, hours and hours of grocery shopping and doing extra trips, just so when other people came over, and that was how she said, I love you. And it's like, that's powerful. And that's what Shang-Chi was for us. That was that a movie and producers and all of these people saying, I get you. And how much of that movie, I think as a non-Asian going into it, you're going to enjoy the movie.
Dude, fuck yeah.
It's time for another subject change.
Gemini Man. So I haven't seen the movie, but I know obviously Will Smith is the star. What was working on that movie like?
So Gemini Man, I got called into that. I did a short piece of it. There is a scene in Gemini Man where it's downtown. This it was out filmed in Savannah. I get a phone call from this programmer I worked on, Black Panther, Godzilla with. Amazing dude. He goes, I need your help. We have a massive downtown in this place that's like an hour outside of Savannah. It's a small town. It's literally 7 square blocks that I need you to run data around. And I need data everywhere, multiple universes all around. I can't be there to tell them how to do it. So I need someone who I know can just handle it. So I got called in as like the ringer to kind of give him a hand. Here's what we have. This is what it is. Connect the dots. And I just ran around for 2 weeks, running around this whole downtown. The scene is they're in this small town hiding, and they go through a liquor store. Then all of a sudden, this giant armored vehicle tank thing shows up, and a guy jumps out in a gunner's seat and starts shooting up. So they jump into a liquor store and crawl through the ground, and the bullets are hitting all the liquor bottles. So all the liquor bottles are exploding and liquor's going everywhere and stuff like that. They got a phantom camera in to do it so they could slow-mo it. So here's the fun part is it was 2 days of shooting. They had 2 shots to set it up. The first shot, they get ready to do it. Special effects put so much fog because you always add, a lot of people don't realize there's smoke machines always going. Because when you watch a movie, you see the atmosphere, you see the light coming through. In the real world, we never see that, right? So to get that effect, they pump a low level of smoke into any scene and you get these like light streams and it doesn't look smoky. But that's why if you watch movies and I was like, why is everything slightly smoky? Or I can see all the light and it looks it's because of that. So they were filling it with smoke to give it the lights of the bottles and the lights going on. And they put too much smoke in there. So when they redid it, they couldn't really see anything because it was too smoky. The second take, because they had 2 of them, and it took 2 days to reset. They get ready to shoot it. Boom, nail it, everything's good. And then all of a sudden you hear someone screaming, cut it. And the camera guy had a remote trigger to cut the camera because it's shooting. The memory card is filling up, right? It's digital, 1,000 frames per second. The file is gig, like massive, right? It wouldn't cut remotely. So they're running to the camera to cut it manually. And it took so long that it filled up the tape and then recorded over the footage.
Missed the take.
Part of the take was gone. So they went to do a third take of it, but that overlapped with them shooting normal stuff. So the LCP stayed behind to shoot it a third time to make sure it worked. And so he goes, I need you to board up first unit for me. So I got to go, and it's a super simple scene of a phone call inside of a school hallway. And I got to do that. And I literally got to sit and board up 10 feet away from Ang Lee with these massive monitors. It was just like, it was the coolest thing I'd ever done. I was like, I'm sitting next to this, like, as we talk about representation, this Asian director who is Academy Award winning, like, and he's very artistic. He wanted to shoot in a different frames per second and like IMAX. Like he's very like how he wants to shoot a certain way. I'm sitting there next to Will Smith and him, just nervous as hell, being like, please don't fuck up. Please don't. I had never fully bored up. I had done like little tidbits and they were like, no, you got this. And I'm sitting there.
Hang on,
so
this
nervous.
is your first time doing this?
To that level, yes. I had just gotten done doing it on like Black Lightning, which was the CW DC show, which good, but like it's not that same level. Not Will Smith and not Ang Lee sitting there. So I'm sitting there just like, oh my gosh, freaking out as I'm trying to do this.
Up.
Yeah. But like, that was my experience with it. There was like a scene at the end where Will Smith is sitting with one of the guys at the bar drinking and having a conversation. So I shot that scene. I shot this school scene. Okay. And I just like, that was my little taste of being there.
Dude, that is awesome. Okay. So I'm piggybacking on Gemini and like Will Smith and the tinges of being starstruck and stuff. What is something that you've worked on or have gotten to be a part of that you got to see like come to life in front of you that you were like super stoked on or super proud of or like amazed by? Throw some stuff at me.
I mean, I think probably the first one was definitely Black Panther, like being a part of it. Because
which of the scenes did you work on in Black Panther?
They had to do all the pickup shots of, the astral plane where he meets his father.
Yes.
So there was all the scenes that are pretty much a close up.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Did you get to work with John Connie too? Was he there on set? The dad, T'Challa's dad.
Yes. So that was a scene. So the scenes of him, I got to stay behind and board up and change levels for all the scenes of him talking to T'Challa that were over T'Challa's shoulder. They had a stand-in come in and do that. And
so the shot is the dad or the dad's character.
Yeah. And like the overhead was just a blue screen set with a tree and like gravel, and it was all blue screen. And then we had this overarching like astral colors going on top like that. So that was one of them. The casino set was this crazy 2-story set.
Favorite scene. It feels very much so like you're in like a backroom speakeasy behind some Korean seafood restaurant, and you're not supposed to be there. But if you are there, if you are in this place, you're in a suit and tie, you are super powerful. Yeah. Everybody there is some kind of a threat or a world figure or something like that. And then you have the 3 Wakandan characters. And I think this was as a part of Vanity Fair. The director Ryan Coogler, he breaks down this scene, and he talks about like there is a shot, which is probably on screen now as I'm talking about it, where the 3 characters, T'Challa, Nakia, and Okoye, are walking into the casino, and they're dressed in black, green, and red, which is like the Pan-African flag, which like meant to symbolize all like the entire continent of Africa and all the cultures and stuff. And if you know that that's kind of where it comes from, that's cool. But if you don't know, it's 3 bad motherfuckers walking into a casino about to fuck some shit up.
Yeah.
And just all of it was done so well. So that is my favorite scene in the movie. Please tell me everything about working on that scene.
Okay, so super fun tidbit. This is something that probably no fan person has caught. The programmer I worked with, amazing dude, super nerd too. Elton James. So
What's up, Elton?
He taught me all of everything about dimming. He's the guy I look up to. Like, I want to be
Shout
like
out
him one
EJ.
day. Yeah. So in that scene, I remember we're at location. We were in Atlanta in these like little art community, little place. And that's where the whole scene where they're walking through the fish market is all in Atlanta. The only stuff that wasn't in Atlanta was all the driving stuff in Korea. That fish market wasn't even a fish market. It was just like this like building that like each of them are like a live, work, loft kind of place. And we just turned that into a fish alley. All of it, we put all the booths up. I was in charge of helping run all the LED lights and the dimmers for all the different stuff so we control it.
Okay.
So I was there getting him in that night. And I remember him going, let's find out the birth date, Stanley's birthday, right?
Okay.
So we got it in Morse code and I gave him the Morse code. So when they walk through the metal detectors and the top of it is blinking, it's actually blinking the Morse code of Stanley's birthday.
Dude, oh my god.
So the light on top of the metal detector, and probably this will be like a first that most people are hearing about, because Elton loves hiding those things in. When we were shooting Godzilla King of Monsters, one of the actors who played Godzilla in the suit passed away. So he put RIP to his name on one of the servers. There's like a wall inside of there where there's servers blinking, and he programmed the Morse code RIP to him. And like, that's his little fun little, like, see if anyone finds this. And probably most people have never found it or even thought to look at it.
Dude, how did you get into all this stuff?
The first thing I ever worked on was between my junior and my senior year of high school. I worked on a movie.
Holy shit. How old were you?
I was 16 at the time.
Fuck yeah.
Probably no one. I mean, it's not terrible. It's fun. It's not good, but it's cheesy.
I mean,
terrible.
I'll trim it if you want me to. I want to watch it. What is it called?
It's called Snoop Dogg's Hood of Horror. It's Tales from the Crypt, and Snoop Dogg is the crypt keeper, and there's 3 mini stories. And there is Billy D. Williams is in it.
Lando Calrissian?
Yeah, Danny Trejo is in it. Danny Trejo is dope. One of my favorite guys to work with, the most down to earth. I remember talking to him one day, and he was like, "Hey," because I was a PA on that, so I was like, "I don't know what I'm doing." Me and my buddy were on it, and at one point he's like, "Hey, can you go run down the store and get me cigarettes?" And I was like, I can see if another PA can. I'm only 16. They're not going to let me buy cigarettes." And he was like, "Fucking 16? What are you doing today?" I was like, "I don't know. They have me getting coffee and running around." He's like, "Dude, you just want to chill here with me all day?" And I was like, "Yeah." So he calls one of the assistant director and goes, "I need a separate PA. Give me this guy all day." And I literally got to spend the whole day just sitting with Danny Trejo, listening to stories and like grabbing him sodas or food or snacks and stuff like that. And just spent like 2 days, just 16 years old, hanging out with Danny Trejo, the most chill, down to earth. He's like, "I know how bad PAs get run around." And he's like, "Dude, and you're a kid and they're freaking probably running you ragged." He's like, "Dude, just come and chill with me. How about enjoy the perks of what film is?" Yeah, so that was the first project I ever worked on.
Wow. This is the section that I typically end with, where I ask my guests to tell me about some things that they're working on right now, or things that they have been consciously trying to improve about themselves as they venture out into the world. Put yourself on the hook for some shit. What you got?
I think, like we talked a little about, is like changing the way this industry works and making it better for myself and other people of color and voices that aren't heard. So like, I am getting a seat at the table closer and closer, and I'm ready to I'm going to continue being in this industry and working, which I've had my ins and outs and downs, because it's so draining. It's so working so much. It is. But if I'm going to be here at this table, I'm either going to change this table or I'm going to be kicked off this table. And like, that's my mindset now. Like, the old days are gone. I've worked with enough people, seen people of color who can make a change and make that like, too many places, and especially in the electric, and I work in the electric side, women are always seen as like, "Oh, they can't do that." And I'm like, "Oh, F you." Like, there's no reason they shouldn't if they want to. So yeah, I mean, I think that part of it is just getting ready to shake it up, getting ready to change things. Part of it is fighting for rates for me and my crew. A lot of people in the industry in my spot will negotiate their rates, negotiate their rentals, make as much money as they can, and then and everyone else just gets a deal for themselves. And I'm kind of against, like, I don't want a lot of money if I know that I screwed someone else to make it. When I go in and negotiated on one of my shows, I negotiated my rate. I said, "Cool, I want this many techs. My tech needs to be at this rate." And I said, "If you don't want to agree to that, even though you've agreed to my rate, I don't want to say yes," because those people on the lower end can't negotiate. I have enough power, I can make a difference. So if you want me, you have to pay these lower people a better rate too, because I have a voice. I want to use the voice I have because I've been that person without a voice for way too long. Now that I have a voice, I want to help other people the best I can. I'll come work for your show, but your crew needs to be at least 50% people of color or female. If you don't want that, then I will go find another show. I'm okay with turning down shows I want to do because just because I want to do them and I'm taken care of, I don't want to be surrounded by other people not getting opportunities. I had some guy, he said, hey, some random chicks were looking for you. And I went, those are your dim techs. They work for you. They're part of my department. They introduced themselves. They gave you their name. They are part of your department working to support you. And if you can't give them the courtesy to learn their name and just call them some chicks, you are going to have a problem with me and I will leave. And and no one said anything to him because he was kind of the teacher's pet. So I went to his boss, who everyone's afraid of because he's done some big stuff. And I said, if this guy makes those comments again and says anything sexist to my crew, I'm walking. Good luck finding someone to replace me because I will not work with someone like that again. And he had a whole talking to with the guy.
Explain to me the part where, because I've got a vagina, I deserve to not have my name learned.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, you don't say that to me. And it's like, I don't care. I don't want to be your friend. I told this kid, I don't want to be your friend. At the end of the day, I'm not here to be friends. He's like, you're not nice and you're not asking how my day is. You're just always so stressed out. I'm like, yeah, because I'm busy. And I'm
I got shit to do, motherfucker. I'm not thinking about you.
I don't care. It's not my prerogative to come up here and make you feel happy about your life, especially when you treat female crew members like they're secondary citizens. Go fuck yourself. We got into a big thing. Is like, well, maybe I need to go tell the gaffer about this. I said, go tell him, I dare you. So we went to go tell the gaffer. The gaffer came up to me and the first thing he goes, I'm so sorry about that. I said, you keep your boy in check or you're going to have me leaving and I will have no problem calling up the union and telling them about what happened.
Dude, fuck yeah.
So it's just like, that's how it is. I'm going to give people out of my text. One of the people didn't work out that well, didn't give it. I don't care because I would rather give her a chance and her show me she's not good than make an assumption that they can't do it.
Of course.
Because we've given chances to other people that have. So I think like that's my piece there. The other big thing is I recently started an LLC because I own gear and I started it. So my LLC is Basic Bro LLC.
Fuck yeah.
So basic. So it kind of is an encompassing for a little of everything. So I've got like Basic Bro lighting. I also I have my 200-hour yoga certification. So I'll run that. I kind of did my LLC, so Basic Bro Yoga would be my yoga side of it and fitness.
I may or may not have torn a labrum. I got shoulder surgery like 3 years ago and didn't do a goddamn thing. I'm not in shape enough to have felt like I suffered a gym injury.
Yeah.
I've sincerely considered whether or not my left-handed masturbation technique has led to the shoulder injury. I would love to get into yoga. Not even just for the physical benefits, but like the meditative, just repetitive aspect of like, you're just doing a pose and you're breathing. Those are the only two things you are responsible for in this moment.
Before this, I went to the gym and I didn't warm up enough. So I was just like, did 135 squats, then jumped straight to 225s. And by the third set, my left hamstring just sharp pain. So I did some like pigeon pose to stretch out that hamstring and worked on, then tried it again. I was like, nope, it's still tough. I'm not going to do it. But yeah, like those little pieces help, like just knowing where's the pain, this is where it's coming from, how can I see if I can relieve it? Well, I've got to introduce the pup to you before we go. Oh,
yeah, absolutely. Well, 1,000,000% fuck yes. Hi, are you a dog? Hi.
This is little Miso pup.
Miso, say hi. Miso, hello.
Little rescue pup.
Are you a dog? Hello, so tell me the story.
So he was little street.
His name is
pup.
Miso like the soup?
Miso like soup. Oh. We were just looking for a dog and it was like my girlfriend's birthday and we were like searching for one. And we saw him and his name was Lemon Meringue on there because he apparently had been sleeping in ammonia cleaner. So his whole fur was dyed yellow and the bottom of his skin was like missing and red and rashed and had cuts all over him. So we freaking adopted him. And yeah, now he's Miso pup. And
do you know how old he is?
He was about a year when you rescued him. So he's about 3
so you've still got him for a long
We've had him 2 years. Yeah.
Nice. Dude, thank you so much for fucking sitting down with me and doing this. This was so much fun. And I have so much great stuff to chop through. And
thank you for giving me this shot just to talk. I mean, honestly, thanks for just giving me a chance to have another Asian American we can just talk about and like fucking be open and just
fuck yeah.
talk about this fucking impactful, crazy year we've had, and after this crazy year and a half.
To wrap it up and go from the beginning, back to the beginning. I'm gonna do some homework and get into some D&D a little bit. This online aspect of what you're talking about sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, if we get, the big thing is finding a DM who has the time to like create it and put it on there. If we can,
Gotcha.
I'm 100. I can. It's me popping in and out, but I'd be totally down if we can go through it and do something.
The catchphrase that I have all my guests, all my friends end the episodes with, if you wouldn't mind, the catchphrase being, "Don't be a dum-dum."
Don't be a dum-dum, all you. Have a good night.